Have you ever deleted a dating app and felt immediately lighter, only to reinstall it days later because the loneliness has somehow crept back in? Now, this cycle isn't proof that you're needy. It's evidence that the app is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Let me take you back to a dinner party in ancient Athens. So Plato's friends are sitting around talking about love, which honestly is something we're still doing 2,400 years later. Now, one guest, Aristophanes, he tells a story about humans who were once complete with 4 arms, 4 legs, 2 faces. And Zeus thought they were too powerful and split them in half. Ever since, each half has been searching for the other. Now, this sounds romantic until you realize modern dating apps are actually built around that same myth of the other half or the soulmate. So every swipe says, maybe this is the one, or maybe the next one, and it feels like a love story. But it works really like a slot machine. Here's the part most people don't know. So a recent meta-analysis looked at 23 studies involving over 26,000 people. Across the board, dating app users reported more anxiety, depression, and loneliness than people who didn't use the apps. And those feelings didn't just come from bad dates or ghosting, they actually stem from the act of swiping itself, the comparison, the waiting, the tiny dopamine hit when someone matches you, and the crash that happens when nothing comes of it. So if you've ever felt strangely empty after lots of swiping, it's not because you're too sensitive, it's because the product is very good at keeping you searching, but not very good at making you feel connected. So what do you do when you realize the soulmate myth is a trap? At the same dinner party, Socrates, he shares something he learned from a woman called Diotima. Love, she says, isn't about finding your missing half. It's a ladder you climb, and every rung is a deeper way to connect. So the first rung is simple physical attraction. You notice somebody's face, their body. This is the romantic sexual love. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. Attraction absolutely matters, but apps keep us stuck on this bodily infatuation because they reduce people to a few pictures and a witty prompt. This doesn't mean lust or sex is evil, but you can't tell from a profile whether someone holds the door for a stranger or knows how to apologize. The next rung is where attraction matures. You start seeing beauty in someone's warmth, in how they speak to others, the way they include everyone in a conversation, how they remember something random you said last week. Their humor, their kindness, their generosity suddenly becomes more interesting than their height. Then you get to the mind. This is when you realize you're drawn to the way this person thinks, their curiosity, their honesty, their courage, the way they say, I was wrong. You know the feeling when you talk to someone for hours and you leave thinking, wow, I really want to know how their brain works. That's this rung. It's the difference between someone being exciting for 3 messages versus someone being exciting in person for 3 hours. And finally, you're drawn to truth and wisdom themselves, the things that makes life richer. So love stops being about feeling wanted and becomes more about becoming better. It's not performative, it's better, it's deeper, more honest, more presence, and more alive. That's what Plato was saying. Love isn't supposed to complete you, it's supposed to expand you. It's a direction, it is not a destination. And that's almost the opposite of how dating apps work. Apps ask, do I want this person? But real love eventually asks, who am I becoming around this person? You absolutely cannot answer that by swiping. You answer that through time, through awkward pauses, through eye contact, and seeing how someone behaves when things aren't perfectly curated. Listen, I'm not anti-app. People meet partners through apps every day. The issue isn't that apps exist, it's what they can do to us when we tend to use them mindlessly. I want to tell you something about the paradox of choice. So psychologist Barry Schwartz's research shows that more options don't always make us happier. Now, as you can tell on dating apps, you swipe through hundreds of profiles very quickly, and it sounds empowering, but it can actually lead to fear of missing out. What if there's someone funnier, someone hotter, someone compatible? So this constant comparison, it stops you from seeing the person in front of you as a human being and turns them into a product you are evaluating. And then we fall into this trap of dopamine loop. So a match notification feels good because it triggers a little burst of dopamine. But dopamine is about wanting. It's not about satisfaction. So a match isn't intimacy, it's validation. And if we confuse these two, we end up opening the app just to feel chosen for 5 seconds. And then you might have a nice conversation and still feel very hollow afterwards because nothing real has happened yet. So filters and algorithms, they encourage us to look the best possible option, and then we start asking, are they the absolute best I can get, instead of could I enjoy getting to know this person? So that mindset, it kills presence. It makes us constantly scan for upgrades rather than connecting with someone imperfect but a real person. So the problem is in the app themselves. It's the state the apps put us in if we're not aware. Now, you can absolutely meet the love of your life online, but it helps to understand the psychology at play. What if, now hear me out, the antidote to dating burnout is as simple as leaving your phone at home and going to a quiz night? Love doesn't usually find us when we're perfecting our profiles. It actually finds us when we're living, and that's why third places, they matter. So these are spaces that aren't home or work. So coffee shops, bookshops, running clubs, pottery classes, pub quizzes, your community gardens, the places where you can become a regular, where people recognize your face, where conversations start without the pressure of, is this a date? Modern life has optimized so much spontaneous connection out of our days. So we work from home, we shop online, we order our food to our door, and we date through our screens. Again, none of that is wrong, but when everything becomes private and efficient, we lose the messy little moments where connections used to happen naturally. The chats with someone in a queue, the familiar face at a cafe, the friend of a friend who you meet at trivia night, the person who you keep seeing in the same class until one day you muster the courage to go and speak to them. Plato's ladder reminds us that love needs more than attraction. It needs time, it needs context, it needs curiosity and repeated exposure. It needs a real person in a real environment, slowly becoming more interesting, because you're not judging a profile, you're seeing how they actually exist in the world. That's why I don't think the solution is to delete every app forever. People meet real love on apps all the time. The solution is to make sure that the app is in your entire romantic universe. Use it if you want to, but don't abandon the real world. The version of you who's living, who's trying new things, who's going places, who's talking to people, building a life that feels like yours. That version is already magnetic, rather than a curated profile. So maybe stop asking, where do I find love? And start asking, where does love have a real chance of finding me? Now, if you're into this mix of psychology, philosophy, and the strange little patterns behind modern life, then hit the subscribe button. I'm only a small channel and it really helps me make these type of videos. But I also want to hear from you. If you've got any interesting stories about using dating apps, let me know in the comment section below and let's chat more.